I'm sorry. I really am. I never meant to convey anything bad towards anyone. What do you want from me?
Stop! You okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk for a minute. Through each episode of this series, we learned something new about Poppy's motivation. In the first episode, we discovered that Poppy knew where her limits are. Whenever she realized that she went a bit too far in her explanations, she found Branch and apologized on her own terms. She knew that Branch had the best possible reasons for his actions. In episode 2, we found that Branch and many of the other trolls are far from perfect. Her teachings help Branch and many others express the best in themselves and fix any flaws that stop them from being the best they can be. In episode 3, we found that Poppy had her unintentional moments, where she never intended to change Branch in any way. She only wanted Branch to let loose and have fun. All the change happened in his mind, but she still ate her words and apologized, proving that she cares enough to fix a situation even when it wasn't her fault and her intention, because her friends come first. In episode 4, we found that Poppy had her intentional moments, where her plans don't execute quite well. She wanted Branch and Creek to get along, or at the very least, make amends for their actions. She ended up apologizing since she didn't want them to change who they were, once again because her friends came first. In episode 5, we found that Poppy still kept to her consistent defense, and still had the best intentions for her differing moments with Branch and Cloud Guy's situation. It just took other characters like Cloud Guy to twist it into a case where we saw Poppy as the bad guy for believing that Branch was the one in the wrong. She realized what went on and that Cloud Guy was truly in the wrong. While it was not her best episode, or the best episode of the show, she still had the best intentions possible. It was the plot structure and Cloud Guy's behavior that blurred the lines on what was seen as good and bad about Poppy, when really, there wasn't really any bad. In episode 6, we saw that Poppy had enough intelligence and learned so much about Branch that she was able to know his intentions and outsmart him. We have to remember that that was a game, and that it was all in good fun. While I hated the idea of having a plan from the beginning unless it's done right, it was still a good moment, and a really good competition episode. In episode 7, we saw that Poppy and Branch learned a little bit more, and they got to realize that their lives are important, as well as the fact that both of their positions cannot be filled by any other troll. She understood that Branch had his important role in the village, and Poppy had hers, even though she's queen. While it wasn't strongly linked to analyzing one character, it still left a lot of unique character development from both of them. And here, we saw that she and the others confessed that they love Branch for who he is, and that she's shown resistance to drastic ideas like blowing up the bunker. She only kept pursuing because of the fact that she wanted to keep the promise, as well as the fact that she thought he was truly doing this because it was what he wanted. She even questioned Branch trying to be what she and the others want him to be versus what he wants to be. So in conclusion, there is nothing bad about Poppy's actions in each of the paralleling Poppy episodes. But if she didn't do anything bad, why are we still criticizing Poppy like this? I think I may have an answer for that, but to find the answer, let's break it down. It's not because she's queen, because no one is truly criticizing her queen responsibilities. Plus, most of the time, her queen status is only played up as a status change. Poppy still behaves the same, and her relationship with her friends is the same. It's also not because of the way she acts as a character towards other people like Smidge, Biggie, and Guy, because all those moments weren't criticized. Plus, Poppy's criticism didn't start until the later seasons, hence why I reviewed the episodes I chose. So through this, I finally figured out what it is that influenced Poppy's criticism, the expectations for Poppy, and where it's going next. How many of you noticed that every episode of the series included Branch in a specific way? Have you also noticed that a good majority of the episodes were judged based on how people treated Branch? And just recently in many different videos, I talked about how people criticized Poppy just because she friend-zoned Branch in World Tour. Yeah, that's because everyone judged Poppy based on everything going on with their relationship and how it was played up.
But We don't want Poppy to be a bad character.
And she hasn't been a bad character at all. Making bad decisions occasionally does not make Poppy a bad character, or even a bad person. The entire essence of her character is that she always has good motivations. They just don't always execute perfectly. Honestly, I feel like the fandom's being a bit too insecure and afraid of where Poppy is going and how it will execute. And if people are seriously going to criticize Poppy like this, just because she made a few bad decisions based on wanting the best for others, because people want Poppy to execute as satisfyingly as possible for them, then I prefer Poppy to have never happened at all.
What? Party planner? Are you crazy?
No, I'm not.
Do you not want us to be happy?
Of course I want everyone to be happy, but are you even listening to yourselves? Worrying about whether you are happy rather than worrying about whether she's happy? You can worry about a character's attitudes toward another, fine, but we don't need to tear a character apart by threatening to cancel her or even calling her the worst when she really isn't. It wouldn't bother me so much if it weren't for the fact that people did this with reasons that could literally be proven wrong, or because people only thought about the unfortunate implications and didn't think through them. But based on all my time watching the series, Poppy has never, ever asked Branch to change or even force him to change at all.
Prove it.
I can. Delphi, you ready?
Yes, sir.
In the first episode, A New Beginning, Poppy's denial at the end was supposed to be played up for laughs and wasn't meant to be taken seriously. All the other times, Poppy and Branch still treated each other with decency, having a few moments of sarcasm occasionally. In Laugh Out Loud, Poppy helped Branch with Cloud Guy after everything went down. In the beginning of that episode, Poppy never told him to calm down or anything. While there were snarky remarks, it's never played up as serious and more for laughs. I think we need to keep in mind that friends will make snarky remarks at each other, but they still act like the best of friends in many different situations. At the end, Poppy said to show Cloud Guy the fun Branch that she knows, indicating to him to show the positive side of him that she knows from the first film. That doesn't mean changing his personality or forcing him to act different. It's just a way of showing a side of yourself that's more tolerable and a lot less aggressive, especially when people are afraid of aggressive behavior. In Two Party System, Poppy had a situation in which she had to switch between multiple places over and over. And yeah, the plot has been done so many times in media, but it's done well here. In the end, she learned that she shouldn't try to do too many things and stress herself more than normal. A good lesson to teach. In Fun Branch, while she was here rarely, she was able to help teach Branch that he can allow the other trolls to do what they wish and have the most fun while still remaining safe and protective. A moral that will show up time and time again for him to learn, with different scenarios and executions. In Royal Review, Poppy felt insecure about her position as queen and didn't want to fail or get one single frowny face, even though she made it clear to herself that it's room for improvement. Her dad, while his methods weren't great, was trying to teach Poppy that she doesn't need to be perfect, or a letdown, because one troll thought she needed improvement, while multiple other trolls thought she did a great job. In Punishment, she and Branch came to a conclusion in which they can find compromises in specific situations, instead of going for a cruel and excessive punishment for Cooper, and that Poppy can provide the right amount of aggressiveness needed to make things right, showing a lesson of having the right kind of assertive nature to convince the other trolls to do the right thing, but not enough assertive nature to scare them. In Bad News Bergens, despite its mediocrity, it taught a good message from the trolls to the Bergens that you can still feel good about losing a game as long as you don't make people feel bad for losing. A lesson of not following down the road of competitiveness, but cooperation and decency. All those episodes, even when Branch was involved, didn't have Poppy forcing change or asking Branch to change in any way. One episode was a scenario in which Poppy learned a lesson, and the others were Poppy helping Branch in learning said lesson. In Cloudy with a Chance of Hugs, it was all about Branch giving Poppy that special hug, but he was afraid of being rejected or even making himself embarrassed of the idea. When he confessed this, Poppy said this.
Why would I say no? I was gonna ask you.
Top that. Also, why the hell would Poppy want to change Branch later when she was willing to ask him for the special hug when he had the exact same behavior and was himself in the majority of the episodes? And even when Branch said, and she's not going to, when getting her away from Cloud Guy, Poppy looked worried and said, "You don't think I'm gonna get a hug?" We have to keep in mind that she would later confess that she was going to ask Branch to have that special hug day hug, so she was afraid that she wasn't going to get the hug from him. If she really didn't like Branch for who he is, why would she be worried about not getting that special hug from Branch? You can't think of an answer? In Creek Week, my second least favorite episode of B Goes On, Poppy still had the best motivations possible, wanting Branch to grow and not be mentally stuck in the past. I go more in depth with everything in my re-review of the main problems with the episode that muddy the message. However, through it all, Poppy still wanted Branch to grow and let go of anger, as it won't help him move on. In The Giver, Poppy finds out that Branch was the giver, in which he wanted to give gifts to everyone, not wanting himself to feel lonely. Poppy saw that as admirable and really touching. My only issue with the scene was the Family Guy zoom-in tactic.
But, Brian, I don't want to lose anybody.
But regardless, through all that, Poppy kept his secret from Smidge and said thank you along with Branch at the same time. In Bello Bug Day, the two worked together to find a triple rainbow maker and fixed it, even when they were on opposing sides. Branch still went along and helped Poppy even when he was against the idea. That was season 1, and through the whole season, Poppy never asked Branch to change or force him to change. And no, I didn't word anything different so it plays out in my favor. I told the episode as it is and their morals. While season 2 was the weaker season in terms of content and having the worst episode of the series, none of them were played up as anything too serious. Besides Prank Day, all the other episodes had good morals or good endings, to which Poppy still came out on top. In Adventures in Dinkle Sitting, despite the two being on bad terms because Poppy acted like an asshole in terms of Branch's care,
See, this is what I mean. Poppy still made fun of him or said he couldn't do it.
You didn't let me finish. Yes, she did act like an asshole in that moment, but again, frustration can lead to a lot of emotion, leaving out a lot of context in terms of what you were really thinking. Poppy believed that Branch only cared for Gary, a remote control, and that wouldn't be enough, since a remote control is an inanimate object, while Mr. Dinkles was a living, breathing worm caterpillar. Plus, Branch wasn't a saint either, rubbing his privilege of being chosen over Poppy in her face. At the end of the episode, Branch learned that if he messed up with something, he should come clean if it means Biggie didn't trust him with Dinkles. Luckily, Biggie confessed that he loses Dinkles all the time. The choice for Smidge was played up for laughs, by the way. I've already talked about I'll Be Watching You multiple times in which Poppy didn't follow safety ideas and ran into DJ's bug, spraining her foot. Branch decided to go with a plant known to help against issues like that. However, Poppy needed time to determine if the plants were safe to use, but Branch still went against her orders anyway, leading to things being too safe. When Poppy realized that he broke her orders and did what she said not to do, she told him to leave, leading to her getting taken by the plants. Through a rescue mission, Branch learned his lesson that he shouldn't be too safe, and that others can be right about something, even if it hurts your feelings. That's a great moral, because we like to play defense, and justify our actions when people say we're wrong in many situations. But we have to remember that it's okay to admit when you're wrong, because that doesn't make you awful or selfish. It just means you're willing to learn and grow. In Sorry Not Sorry, Branch was able to teach Crystal the lesson that others cannot make the apology for you. Only you can. And you can't just say you're sorry. You actually have to mean it, and show you feel bad and that you're willing to get better. The episode acknowledged that apologies shouldn't be abused and used as a tactic to get what you want, because if you use it like that, you're manipulative and a user, and no one wants to be around you when you do that. Poppy agreed with Branch when he made that statement. Why would Poppy want to change Branch for who he is if he makes really good pointers and can even be the voice of reason in many situations? In Neighbor War, Branch was in the wrong, taking things a bit too far. Poppy gave him the proper scolding. Sure, she wasn't in the episode a good majority of the time, but she still had moments in which she performed what she needed to do effectively. While it wasn't her best episode, I could still understand where she was coming from. And once again, frustration and not having the products necessary for what's needed in your daily life, as well as having a lack of empathy on Branch's part in understanding why other people fill roles that are important in which you yourself can't fulfill the roles, can lead to an expression of emotion that's a bit less appealing. Branch will even go on to learn the role idea I just mentioned in Switcherooby, which we already reviewed in episode 7. In Remote Out of Control, Branch and Poppy were together the entire time, and she helped Branch in looking for Gary, While she did call out his gifts for a wedding because they were nunchucks, I agree with Poppy that it is a small bit inappropriate, since nunchucks are usually used as weapons, and yet he's taking nunchucks to a wedding. Despite that though, Poppy never says his behavior is bad or that he should change in any way. Note that she also said that she wanted him to know that she was here to help.
You know I'm here to help.
Top that. In Critter Comfort, Poppy followed Branch's rule for the safari trip, saying that they promised Branch to keep their hands to themselves on the journey when touching the animals, as well as the fact that Poppy had to learn to not meddle with nature. While they did throw a lot of stuff back at each other like, "You're so annoying," it wasn't serious and was more of a playful banter. They even brought it back with, "You know you like it." No behavior change, and no forced change, or asking him to change. In the Poppy Horror Picture Show, both Poppy and Branch teamed up to fake the monster beatdown, and Poppy even opened up to Branch, stating,
When I was a kid, I was afraid there was a monster in my closet, but instead of trying to prove it wasn't real, my dad fought the monster and chased it off. After that, I slept like a baby.
indicating growth and a close friendship, since Poppy probably wouldn't have told that to anyone else, or at the very least, Branch would have been the first person she told the story to. Once again, no behavior change, and no force change or asking him to change. In Dinkle's Little Star, the moment in which Poppy made the exact claims that Branch made and then talking over him are played up for laughs, and the same goes for the beginning. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Every other time though, Poppy, Branch, and Biggie were all supportive of each other. I noticed that some people felt bad about these moments that were played up for laughs, but you shouldn't. These moments aren't truly hurting anyone, and I have to remind you, they weren't moments where she's being an asshole intentionally, or she's asking him to change, or anything. In the party games, while Branch and Poppy aren't part of the main story, they were the host, and all their moments were seeing them work off each other amazingly. No changes, or even asking him to change, or anything. Trolley Tales is an exception, because that was part of Season 2's stupid formula of petty broppy competitions and fights. Both of them were not saints. Poppy tried to tell a story and came out saying that she was always right, which is a bad mentality to have. Why? Because it makes you a narcissist and an egoist. However, this was to clearly one-up Branch. Trolley Tales is a god-awful episode, but the reasons there was because of their competition, not because they actually wanted to be mean to each other. Again, Season 2 drama, not theirs. Once again, no forced change or asking him to change. And any kind that you see was fantasized in a story, not the real thing. In Pillow War, it was another competition episode, but this one does it right. Since there is indeed a rare thing that both of them can't have, they don't do this to be mean. Poppy had doubts before the final battle, they come to terms in the end, and there were outside forces telling them to stop. It works. No changes, or forced change, or asking them to change. That's Season 2, and we still don't have any changes. Season 3 also doesn't have any changes from Branch or Poppy forcing him or asking him to change. The imposter and the frenemy didn't have any arguing moments. While they did have a moment where they tugged on each other's hair for a few seconds, that was to check and see if the other was indeed the imposter. The song at the beginning was to make sure that no one was panicking. In the second half of the frenemy, Branch saw Poppy getting upset and applied her logic to a scenario in which they would be able to friend Archer, but that it would take a lot of time, making her feel better about the situation when she thought there was nothing they could do or they couldn't follow her ideas. Once again, no changes or force change or anything. In Hair Jitsu, an episode Ainsley talked about a lot of times, Poppy is teaching the virtue of being patient when it comes to specific events taking a bit too long. It is very much anime in terms of imagery. But through that episode, we know that Branch has a habit of thinking in the moment and not using his own mind or patience to determine what to do next. It was a classic plotline of Branch doing random shit and him getting frustrated with it, only for him to realize that what he was doing was the training needed for him to master the arts. However, he really wants the black belt, to which his impatience kicks in again. After a few more tries and understanding what Poppy was trying to teach him, he does it and learns his lesson. No changes, force change, anything. In Meet the Peppy, she outright mentions at the beginning of the episode that she and Branch are best friends, and that they've taken their relationship to the next level, something we'll talk about in another video. She also gets a bit uptight with her father, and even a bit angry, when he says to scrutinize Branch's character. For those that don't know, scrutinize is where you examine or inspect something or someone closely and thoroughly. We have to remind ourselves that Peppy had to say, in a fun way, afterwards, meaning Poppy was taking offense to the idea of criticizing Branch in a negative way. If that isn't a sign that she loves him for who he is, I don't know what would be. And they're all over the place. Branch even worries that if he doesn't impress Peppy, he'll disapprove of Branch being Poppy's friend, which is a sign of his growth and how much Branch really wants to make a good first impression, even though both Poppy and Branch are technically adults. He even worries about what to call Peppy, showing that he's being considerate. While Poppy does get annoyed by this, she's more annoyed that he's taking it a bit too personally. Her main advice is stop trying so hard, which I agree with. You don't have to worry about offending someone by the little things, but you can also see where Branch is coming from. This is a sign of good writing, where you're understanding both sides. Did anyone else notice that this was also an episode in which Guy and Smidge clearly have good intentions with what they're trying to do, but they make things worse through what they believe the execution should be? Later in the episode, we even see Branch saving Poppy, and afterwards Peppy gives us a good moral.
Branch, my only concern is that you treat my daughter the way a friend should. And after what you just did, you're good in my scrapbook.
Seriously, such a good moral. That you don't need to impress people too much, and that the only real thing people would be concerned about is if you're treating the other person with respect and grace. Once again, no changes, force change, or anything. In Rainbow Mageddon,
Branch, we're trolls. Show, don't tell.
Hey, good idea. Also, I'm glad you understand the important basics of writing. Anyway, in Rainbow Mageddon, the main issue was Show Cloud Guy. Even with Show Cloud Guy, Poppy still maintained a lot of good points.
Branch, I know you're worried, which is making you uptight, but that's no excuse to be rude.
See, that's a good moral to teach. Through the episode, we get a lot of antics and even a stupid moment in which Cloud Guy throws out Branch's tools for party supplies, to which Poppy says,
Branch does have a point, Cloud Guy. Shouldn't we fix the rainbow first?
That's not something you'd expect in stories like this. And yet, they did it. After a while, Branch fixes the rainbow. I say that in quotations because of what happens later. We go through a ton of quips and a fight breaks out. Yep, here we go with the stupid Cloud Guy formula. Branch makes a statement that makes Cloud Guy upset.
I don't like you, and I'll never like you!
I see.
Check. Poppy groaning or making an angry face in regards to Cloud Guy being hurt emotionally.
Branch!
Check. Cloud Guy doing something in which he would have to do something, causing whoever yelled at him to change their minds or eat their words.
Some poor soul must stay behind to detonate it. As team leader, I'll go down with the bow. I'll give you the 100.
How, Guy, this isn't right!
What do you care? You don't even like me. You said it yourself.
Okay, yes, I did, but I didn't mean it, okay? Come on!
Check. See why this formula sucks? Cloud Guy revealing that it was all a prank or that everything could easily be fixed?
Was that so hard? Okay, I'll fix everything now.
Check. I hate this formula so much. Speaking of which, unfortunate implication.
You see, the truth can be whatever you want, Poppy, if you're selected.
Did I tell you how much I hate him?
I don't feel great about that being the lesson of this adventure.
Me neither, and I'm glad you admit that, Poppy. See why I put this as my least enjoyable of Season 3? And leaving everything as the status quo so it keeps getting repeated over and over again?
Where's Branch?
He said he needed some alone time.
This isn't what I meant! Cloud Guy!
Check. They better stop doing this formula or I'm gonna hate every future Cloud Guy episode. Through all that though, there was no change to Branch, or even any forced change. In Coop Where's My Guy, Branch had to learn to trust Cooper and know that there are moments when he can be someone you can depend on. Through the episode, they try to trace Cooper's steps, but supposedly don't get anywhere. But after an experience and using the flares, Cooper comes to the rescue and leads Poppy to a surprise party for her. Yes, in this episode, Cooper is a magnificent bastard and we read his book. no changes from Branch or any force change. We already talked about Fluffleberry Quest in my Brilliance Up with Delphi that you guys can check out. Branch is not in FOMO Opa Up except for a few flashbacks, no changes whatsoever or any kind of force change. In Lost in the Woods, at the very end, Branch thinks about sending a search party for Poppy, to which she shows up, and he smiles about it, no change or force change at all. That's Season 3, and we still have no changes to Branch's character at all, or any force change. Let's move on to Season 4. In Party Crash, Poppy and Branch get thrown in the same cage, with Archer putting on a facade to the Party Crashers. Oh yeah, she also guessed the code to his bunker.
I'm gonna change that first chance I get.
Change it to I Heart Gary. Right again! I'm in your head, Branch. In your head. Woo! Branch. I'm in your head, in your head, in your head. In your head, Branch.
Okay, you made your point.
Did I tell you how much I love these two? Also, are you seeing a pattern? A good majority of the episodes we talked about in this speed round have concepts of Poppy's character that we talked about throughout paralleling Poppy. They go through the battle and make Archer a troll until we never see him again. Yeah, that was stupid, B goes on. Despite all that, no changes, force change or anything. Weekend at Diamonds, Branch and Poppy work together to help Guy get his invention to Sky Toronto. Through that episode, we see no changes or force change whatsoever. We already talked about Branchception in episode 1. Then we make it to Bunkerless, which we talked about in episode 2, which is where all the changes start. Even after all of that, we never see Poppy forcing the changes on him at all. Branch is not in the Three Trollsketeers or the Helper. Branch is not in Smagician or DJ's Got Talent. In Peril Patch, Poppy and Branch challenge each other to a golf game, and the lesson Branch had to learn is to not find the details and look at the intricacies to get a 100% conclusion that will definitively get his ball into the hole. Originally, we'd think that Poppy is indeed trying to one-up him, and being a bit of an asshole in the process, like Prank Day. But it was entirely to teach the lesson, and even Branch had his moments where he was being an asshole, drowning out Poppy even when she's trying to teach a lesson. I mean, just look at her facial expression afterwards. They get in trouble with the plant since it has a mind of its own and takes advantage of the troll's love of fun, to which the two get trapped in the course, and can get out if they make the 19th hole, which looks really impossible. Poppy doesn't make the shot, so Branch has to, and Poppy gives the moral to not overthink and that you have to loosen up. Yeah, I know what you guys are going to say. But she told Branch that she doesn't practice, and that it was dumb luck, and that turned out to be a way of messing with him. Sure, but if you really think about Poppy's character, we can know that she easily could have messed with him, so the message is more easy to show. After all, as Poppy originally said,
Branch, we're trolls. Show, don't tell. You are a good mini golfer, Branch. Now just trust that, loosen up, and let her rip.
Can we all acknowledge that Poppy is badass in this scene? I could see her in an action movie. Neon Pink? He learns his lesson and makes the hole. No changes or a force change. Branch isn't in Sibling Quibbling. Branch isn't in Musical Thrones. We already talked about Branch Bum in episode 3. That was season 4, after the changes started, and we don't see Poppy forcing any kind of change. We talked about Wormhole in episode 3 as well. Branch isn't an earworm. In Don't Worry, Be Peppy, Poppy and Branch team up together at the end of the episode to help Peppy feel useful again. I'm not saying that to be mean, the episode literally says that. It all comes down to a good moral and lesson that Peppy isn't necessarily unhappy with his new life. Sure, he misses being king occasionally, but he's alright with continuing the way he should. And even Poppy gives an emotional moment.
I hope you can still spare some time because I can think of one troll who needs your help. Me.
Also, she just confessed in that scene that she's got a lot to learn. That means room for development and growth. Through all that, no changes or force change. Poppy isn't in Two's a Cloud. In New Anthem, Poppy was wanting to change the anthem because it was promoting prejudice against the Bergens, and Branch wants to keep it because of the security feeling that it invokes. Both reasons are understandable. They set up a contest in which both of them go against each other. We get the moral at the end, and we get no changes from Branch or any force change. Did they fight a bit? Sure, but Branch was taking the security nature of the old anthem a bit too far, and not realizing that it's hurting their reputation towards the fact that the trolls made peace to the Bergens. I explained it all in my old New Anthem review, and I'll do it again in a new re-review sometime soon. Branch isn't in Dark Side of the Lagoon. In Mr. Glittercakes, Branch is taught a lesson about trusting his friends and being able to tell them if he really doesn't want to do something. While it is a good lesson to learn, even though the execution is a bit slow and tedious, it's ruined by this.
Hold on. You went to all these lengths to teach me a lesson? You could have just talked to me.
Even the others admit that that was a good point, and that one line is the main reason why this episode really doesn't need to exist. However, no changes or forced change. Poppy and Branch are seen in Snow Day, but don't really spend time with each other too much, so this doesn't count. Branch isn't in Guy Misses Out. In Scraps of the Future, we see a bit of Branch and Poppy, as Poppy is preparing for a festival, and she is a bit overboard in terms of how everything should be set up.
Now you just have to make the backup sign!
Wait, what?
You know, in case this one rips or blows away or gets struck by lightning. Bye!
Other times include getting more green for Harper when she already has a lot of green, and providing Guy Diamond with 300 plus designs for shirts, even though they may not need that many. Branch gives the moral Poppy has to learn, that Murphy's Law is always going to take effect no matter how much you try to stay ahead of schedule, and that she'll drive herself crazy obsessing over everything. Hey, a bit of Poppy rubbed off on Branch. She ends up finding a scrapbook from the future, tries to show Branch, and he gets covered in paint like the book said he would. Through the whole episode, she keeps trying to prevent everything in the scrapbook from happening. Unfortunately, something goes wrong. We find out the twist, that Poppy trying to change everything to the tiniest detail and trying to prevent everything from happening is what caused the events to happen.
Don't beat yourself up. No matter how much you prepare, something always goes wrong. The real key is what you do with the mess when it happens.
Nice one, Branch. She takes that lesson to heart and makes the festival amazing. She puts the scrapbook back to the forest, where we learn that it's an infinite loop with the scrapbook. When the book gets thrown back, it goes through a portal that warps time and goes back to a past Poppy for her to learn again. That's awesome and creative. No changes from Branch or any force change. In bringing up Birdie, Branch conquers his fear of birds, for the most part. Through the whole episode, Poppy's constantly helping Branch. She goes to ask, "You okay?" when they leave for the first time. She smugly smiles at Branch, being delusional with himself, and states,
You're trying really hard to look like you don't care, but deep down, I know you bonded with them.
All while hugging him, I might add. Branch goes through the typical feelings you'd expect in the most over-the-top way possible. He even has a premonition that an eagle-like creature is going to hunt them down, and it turns out to be real after Poppy takes him. Through that, there were no changes to Branch, or any force change from Poppy. That was Season 5, after the changes started, and there's still no force. Let's do Season 6 in a lightning round. In Blank Day, Poppy has to find a day for the trolls when we see that one of them is blank. In that episode, Poppy goes to Branch for help. Why?
Who else can I count on to be so cold and emotionless?
Oh. I'll take it.
No complaints from me. He ends up making a machine that helps with tough decisions.
Branch?
What? I'm allowed to be whimsical?
She said that like she was impressed with him. When he finally recreates the machine for the missing holiday.
Branch, you did it! You reduced tradition and nostalgia down to cold hard numbers!
Well, it wasn't that big a deal.
He's even blushing. I love this moment. Unfortunately, a holiday gets stuck between 99 holiday points, and soon more of them have the same points, leading to the two of them having to make a decision, and chaos from choosing to celebrate all the holidays at once. As they're about to make a decision, the days turn. Through that episode, we see no changes from Branch, or any force change. We already talked about Haircuffed in episode 4. In Marsh Tato Fairy, Branch sets out to prove to Poppy that the Marsh Tato Fairy doesn't exist. They sleep together, they have a little bit of an argument going up the hill that's believable, and he finds out that it does exist. However, the fairy hatches an evil plan to tell them that it doesn't exist. He learns the lesson that he doesn't really want to upset people, and he wants the other trolls to have their fun, in which he stops the fairy later on. No changes or force change whatsoever. Branch is not in Do the Biggie, and he's in Hitting the Sky Note, but only as a cameo. In Hugfest, Poppy and Branch go to the Hugfest together, and they intend to go on the Big Squeeze, the highest ride possible. Branch is a bit nervous because of how it looks, and this is relatable on so many levels. I've been in that position before, being absolutely scared to hell and back of a ride that was either too high or too fast, or especially the high drops. Branch keeps delaying himself over and over again. Also, there's a side plot with Biggie and Guy. When Poppy finally notices the facade, she says,
Well, you want to know a secret? I am too.
You?
Yeah, and every time I'm scared. And believe it or not, that's what makes it so fun.
my attitude towards horror movies. But seriously, this is such a good moral for Poppy to teach. That's how I feel about roller coasters. They still scare me to hell, but that anticipation is what makes it really intriguing and awesome.
So, what do you say? How about we both get on that thing and terrify ourselves? Together.
This moment is so precious. I love it. Both plot lines add up to each other, and
You know, riding that ride is scary, but it's less scary with you.
they're so adorable. I want to squeeze their cute little cheeks.
Preston.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Once again, no changes or forced change. In Chummy Sparklestone, we see a detective story. We see Poppy in the dress she'll eventually wear to the hairball. Throughout the episode, we see Cooper taking the whole thing seriously, and they must attempt to get him back, as he ruins the surprises. Branch is only in the beginning of the episode, so no changes or forced changes. In Giggle Yum, Poppy and Branch team up together to help make some Giggle Yum. Once again, Branch is mostly in the beginning, and throughout the episode there were no changes or forced change whatsoever. In Glamping, Poppy and Branch team up to take the kids camping, since their glamorous lifestyle has softened them. Holy hell, it's today's commentary. Branch really impresses the kids with his survival skills, and even gets the approval of Poppy.
Branch, it's working! You got them to like camping!
However, Guy shows up and ruins it. Damn it. It all leads to them getting captured after getting lost. He confesses the obvious until we actually get a really sweet moment.
Branch, you have to understand. I'm all about living the high life and being fantastic. But I need to grow, to embrace weird and different things. And there's nothing more weird and different than you. Huh? That's why I try so hard to impress you.
Take notes, every single one of you. In A Flower for Poppy, Poppy celebrates Branch's quarter birthday by giving Croco his lost toy during the escape from the Bergens.
Nah, it's just a week's worth of digging for a friend.
She already has my undying loyalty.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome. This episode also already has my undying loyalty, since it shows everyone wanting to give Poppy back the same way she gave to them. I love it. They go to Peppy, hear of a specific flower, and get it. Then they argue over who gives it to her. It should be Branch.
What?
Nothing! It turns out to be Dinkles giving her the flower, and the group accepts it as a group gift, and they believe she'd be disappointed in them.
Disappointed? Why would I be? Guys, do you realize how much you all mean to me? I cherish every moment we share together.
She goes around and gives them some gifts to remind them of their friendship with her. Also,
Branch, this feather is from the pillow that chose us both. It reminds me how alike we are, deep down.
nice callback. And emotional callback.
Preston, calm down. It's okay.
I know.
The point is, your friendship is the best gift a troll could ask for.
So good, I love it. And that makes the entire episode. No changes or forced change. Branch isn't in the Partier's Apprentice. And in Hairball, Poppy changes stuff for the party so that everyone is alright. And this is a problem since she'd never be able to get out onto the dance floor. And Branch doesn't get on the dance floor. While they aren't the focus, it is the part that everyone focuses on. And by the end of the episode...
Branch! Ah, that's it! I am taking you on that dance floor right now!
Fine.
What? Good plan, Branch.
And they go to the dance together. No forced changes or any changes. That was season 6. Still no changes. Alright, let's get through season 7 and 8 in the speed of light time. There are no changes or forced changes in freeze tag, since Poppy and Branch are together for a good majority of the time, and we see no moments in which Poppy is asking him to change or anything. There are no changes or forced changes in Whimsy Wasp, since Branch learns the lesson that they don't need to be all serious all the time, but they also don't need to be too whimsical either. Both Poppy and Branch learn their morals. There are no changes or forced changes in the fast and the friendliness, since Branch is away from Poppy a good majority of the time. Branch only appears for a brief time in Much Ado About Nothing, and he was away from Poppy. No forced changes or changes. Both of them are not in Extreme Sleepover Club, so that doesn't count. Branch isn't in Vegas Swift, so that doesn't count either. Branch isn't in Scrapbook Mobile or Troll Rangers, so both of them don't count either. And Branch isn't in Doc Doc Who's There, so that episode don't count. In Tour Guide of Duty, Branch wants to help out in the community, showing his growth. Even Poppy's impressed.
You've just grown so much!
Please don't.
Sorry, I have to. Branch! I'm so proud of you!
He tries helping Tug find a place to host her tour, until he gets an idea. His bunker.
What? Branch, you hate having people in your bunker!
She's understanding and considerate. She also looks a little bit jealous here. Admit it. That's how you saw it too. They go inside and Poppy...
I'm a helpful troll. I could do this.
I know.
I could do this.
I know you can.
I'm a helpful troll.
She's so helpful and comforting. I love every second of it. While he tries not to freak out, she comforts him and even holds his hand. After everything goes down, Branch admits that he does get bothered by things. And Tug says...
On my right, you'll see one of the kindest, most helpful friends I've ever had.
Huh? Me? But I failed you.
That statement is false. Everyone has their limits, Branch. You gave me everything you had. What more could I want from a friend?
And Poppy states...
She's right, Branch. We may not ask you to do little stuff, but you never let us down when it matters.
And all that makes the entire episode. No changes or forced changes. In fact, did anyone notice how everyone was being considerate of Branch's stuff, particularly Poppy, and they complimented him on how much he's helped them all through those times and all these episodes? In Troll Playing Game, Branch makes a game, and Poppy plays it. She and the others win the game, and they'll come back to do more. No changes or forced change whatsoever. In Fin Cascade, Branch is still fixing his flaws through some training, starting to adopt some of the ideas of what the trolls are all about.
But this is all wrong.
Dang it, I forgot you were all here. How is this wrong?
Because of the fact that she's training to do scrapbooking stuff, laughing more, and getting him into hugging training when he really didn't need to do any of this.
I'm so sick of that dumbass argument. Did you even realize what I said? Fixing his flaws. Hell, even Ainsley did this argument better. Poppy loves him the way he is too, and is merely helping him polish and improve the better parts of himself that he's still getting used to after 20 plus years of depression. She's not doing it for her own gain, but for his, because she knows he'll become happier with himself in the long run. As well as the fact that he says,
if I'm gonna go from Village Grump to full-on troll,
meaning that he's going from a negative Nancy to a positive Poppy, not changing up his entire personality.
Oh.
You'd know this if you thought about the dialogue and the implications more. It's not hard. Poppy even continually tells Branch that it's not worth the effort to go through all these lengths to impress a fish. After a while, he gets eaten by the fish. He makes a new friend, we get the obvious twist, and he finally gets the picture with Finn. No changes or a forced change. You already know the main implications of Gem Day. Poppy continually helping Branch with his gem, trying to throw him an amazing gem party, and even lending her gem to him after his broke, which leads to a new gem being created and him having his ceremony. I have an entire Brilliant Sub review that goes into a small bit more detail if you want to check that out. In Bad Luck Branch, while Poppy and Branch aren't with each other for the beginning, they are for the rest of the plot. First, she asks him,
Are you okay?
Showing some concern. Throughout the episode, she goes with him on these adventures to help him. At first, it's to find something to get rid of his bad luck. However, she actually meant to do this as a way to ease his mind, and that him being paranoid about if such a concept even truly exists, and that he really is jinxed, or whatever isn't going to help him do better next time, which is a really good moral. And he finishes the game perfectly, no changes or forced change. Season 7 is done. Season 8, let's go. In Queen of the Castle, they team up to make a sandcastle to restore Peppy's legacy. They go through the typical shenanigans and the crabs ruin it, but Peppy says that Poppy is the best legacy he could ask for, which is genuinely sweet. Throughout this episode, there are no changes in Branch's character whatsoever. In Truth or Dare, God, the title alone makes me want to walk out, because I hate Truth or Dare. Branch continually shows up in the episode, but it isn't a scenario in which they critically engage Poppy and Branch's relationship, so it doesn't count. Branch isn't in friend matching, so it doesn't count. Branch isn't in Trolley Tales 3, so it doesn't count. We've already talked about Apple of My Ire in episode 5. In Fundsgiving, Branch and Poppy are together in the episode, but most of the time we spend our time with Biggie. However, throughout the episode, we do not see any changes or forced change with Branch. The only thing they need to change is the condescending talk, acting like Branch doesn't know anything.
But why do they act like that?
It's primarily shown for laughs, and be happy that it isn't Poppy doing that.
Fair point.
We've already talked about Bunker Break-In in episode 6. Branch isn't in To Catch a Critter, so it doesn't count. Branch isn't in CJ's Wooferbug, so it doesn't count. In What Did I Miss, Poppy and Branch are together in several stories. However, neither of them really explore their character. The first one is where they speak in unison. Keith jinxes them to where they can't speak until someone says their names. And later on they do, with the best joke ever. Until Keith jinxes them all. The second one is where they and their friends try to break a piñata open. But it won't until we learn that it's a prototype called the Unbreakable Piñata, and that they shut it down because of immense frustration. To fix that problem, Sky gives them a present that is an infinite amount of wrapping paper, so they can't see what's inside. Branch and Poppy don't really spend that much time together in Tall Tale, so it doesn't count, but don't be surprised, it's a Creek episode. In BFFF, Poppy and Branch unveil a time capsule to put things in for future trolls to see from their past. Poppy becomes increasingly worried about the fact that future trolls will be offended or hate their gifts. When Cooper buries it with nothing inside, Poppy gets increasingly worried and paranoid, leading to people digging all over Troll Village. After fixing the whole thing, Poppy's upset, but Branch comforts her. Love it. No changes from Branch or any forced change. We talked about Switcheruby in episode 7, and we talked about Bye Bye Bunker about 35 to 45 minutes ago. Done. Whew.